Hey y'all! Thought we'd pop in today to talk about one of those deceptively simple knitting questions that comes up all the time. How do you choose the right kind of knit for what you're making? If you've ever stood there with yarn in your hands, needles at the ready, and that little voice in your head asking, is this actually going to work for what I want? Congratulations! You are officially doing fiber crafts correctly. That moment of pause is where good projects begin. Whether you knit, crochet, cross-stitch, or dabble in a little bit of everything, you already know that fiber is not just fiber. Structure matters. How something is built matters just as much as what it's made of. And today we're going to focus on one of the most important structural choices you'll make in knitting: single knit versus double knit. Now, this is one of those topics that sounds technical, but I promise you it's not scary. You don't need a degree in textile science. You don't need to memorize a chart. You just need to understand what each type of knit wants to do, because fabric always tells the truth. Let's start with single knit, because this is the one most people meet first, whether they realize it or not. Single knit fabrics are things like jersey. If you've ever handled a lightweight t-shirt, you've touched single knit. Single knit fabric is made up of one layer of interlocking loops. That single layer gives it a very distinct personality trait. First and foremost, it's stretchy. Single knits stretch easily, especially across the width. That stretch is what makes them so comfortable against the body. Another thing you'll notice about single knit fabric is that it has a very clear right side and wrong side. One side looks smooth and neat, and the other has a slightly bumpier texture. That's not a flaw, that's just how single knits are built. Because single knits are lightweight and stretchy, they shine when you want movement and comfort. Think form-fitting shirts, soft dresses, lightweight sweaters, or anything meant to skim the body instead of standing away from it. Single knit wants to move with you. It wants to bend. It wants to drape. That's why it feels so good for everyday wear. And also why it can be a little mischievous if you ask it to do the wrong job. For example, single knit does not love holding its shape. If you knit a bag out of a single knit structure, it's going to stretch, sag, and slowly become something else entirely. That's not the yarn's fault, that's just physics. Single knit also doesn't trap warmth very well. That single layer of loops lets air pass through easily, which is fantastic in warm weather, but not so great when you're trying to stay cozy. So if you're dreaming of a snug winter scarf, a sturdy hat, or something meant to keep you genuinely warm, single knit might leave you feeling a little disappointed. Now let's talk about double knit, which is where things start to feel a little more substantial. Double knit fabrics are made with 2 layers of interlocking loops. That double structure changes everything about how the fabric behaves. The first thing you'll notice with double knit is thickness. It's heavier. It feels more solid in your hands. And because of the way it's constructed, it usually doesn't have a clear right or wrong side. That alone makes double knit perfect for projects that will be seen from all angles. Scarves and blankets and cowls, anything where both sides matter visually benefits from this structure. Double knit is also far more stable than single knit. It doesn't stretch nearly as much, and when it does stretch, it tends to bounce back instead of staying stretched out. That makes double knit excellent for items that need to keep their shape. Hats that shouldn't slouch, knits that need to stay snug, structured garments that shouldn't droop after a few wears. Another big benefit of double knit is warmth. Those 2 layers of loops trap air, and trapped air means insulation. That's why double knit fabrics feel cozy and substantial. They're literally holding warmth in. Of course, that warmth comes with a trade-off. Double knit garments can be too warm for certain situations. A summer top made with a double knit structure is probably going to spend a lot of time folded in a drawer. This is where the real decision making comes in. Choosing between single knit and double knit isn't just about which one is better. It's about what you're making and how you want it to behave once it leaves your needles. Before you cast on, ask yourself a few simple questions. Do I want this to stretch and move with the body? Or do I want it to hold its shape? Will this be worn in warm weather or cold weather? Will both sides be visible? If you're making something close-fitted and lightweight, single knit is usually your friend. If you're making something sturdy, warm, or meant to be admired from every angle, double knit is often the better choice. Now, if you're following a pattern, this decision has usually been made for you, and that's perfectly fine. Patterns exist for a reason. But a lot of us don't always work from patterns. When you're designing as you go or modifying something you've made before, understanding these knit structures gives you freedom. You're no longer guessing. You're choosing intentionally. And this knowledge doesn't just help knitters. Crocheters deal with density and structure constantly. Cross-stitchers understand fabric behavior more than they sometimes realize. Fiber skills overlap in wonderful ways. The more you work with fiber, the more you start to feel these differences in your hands. Eventually, you'll pick up yarn and already know what kind of structure it wants to become. That instinct comes from experience, from trying things, from occasionally choosing wrong, and from learning why something behaved as it did. If a project doesn't turn out the way you expected, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you learned something about fiber, structure, and purpose. Knitting, like all fiber crafts, is both art and engineering. The beauty comes from understanding the structure well enough to let creativity flow without fighting the material. Once you start thinking this way, choosing a knit isn't intimidating anymore. It becomes part of the fun, another tool in your creative toolkit. Well, y'all, that's about it. Let me know in the comments what kinds of projects you've struggled to choose a knit for, or what questions you'd like covered next. Happy stitching!